Hi, this is Carin Camen, and you are listening and watching the Hats That I Wear video series. This video series is breaking down the original Hats That I Wear video, which just had music and just briefly went and talked about, or showed you the different roles within an IT project. I have broken that original series down into each specific role to give that more information and to give more depth to that particular role. So today we are going to talk about information architecture. So let me get this video started and we'll talk away. All right, information architecture, what is that? If you can find the information that you are quickly seeking, what you have found is that is information architecture. What has happened is user experience and user research has gone in and done the research, the observation studies to find out what your natural workflow process and where you would naturally look to find that information. Remember, we're getting rid of laughing computers. We don't want you to have to learn the system. We want to place things in a proper way so that it's very natural and easy for you to follow. You shouldn't have to get out a training manual to find information. What we found is if there is a high volume of customer service calls, it usually is because we need to rethink and relook at information architecture. So if you are a company and you have a high customer service volume rate, you have to ask yourself why. Why are they calling instead of finding the information on the website? Because it's there. Yes, it is there. You may know exactly where it is. Customer service may know exactly what it is, where it is. But apparently the end user is frustrated, has a laughing device in their face, and they aren't finding it because it's not in their natural workflow process. So you need to rethink that. You need to rethink that. If you want to lower those customer service calls and that's customer service cost, you're going to have to rethink. And UX research is going to have to go back and do some more testing. Now that's where most people would end this and saying, okay, now, yep, you've got all the information that you need to know about information architecture. And that is one of the biggest serious issues that I have found in IT. Because no, that's just like a tiny drop in the bucket of information architecture when it comes to IT. This right here is called a user workflow map, user workflow process map chart, if you want to get the real lengthy one. And this is very, very simple. The user enters the site, have two options. They can click on this navigation or this navigation. If they click here, they can either go and have this drop down or go to this drop down and gather information. If they click here, they can go to, and they can go directly to this page. Very, very simplified, just to give you a taste. Now we're going to get into the complex. Complex is always beautiful. So what I ended up doing on one project that was extremely complex, brand new project, is I created a user information workflow process chart. And I took UX design. They had a preliminary design. It wasn't in depth. I took that and I had an incredible business analyst to work with me. And she was looking at things very critically. I was looking at things very critically. And we whiteboarded this first. So we, between whiteboard and sticky notes, we went and put every single step, every single touch point, and every single information that needed to be there or should be there for the user. And we went through that workflow process step by step, critically, through every single process. And this became so complex, we had to print it out on a plotter size paper. And thank goodness the company had plotter paper printer, because this is no way that this could have been done on a regular printer. It could have if we would have broke it down and then pieced it together. I will say that. But it was just so much easier having a plotter printer. So we printed that out. Then we looked at it again, picked it apart, made sure. We were then able to say, we do not have, at this point, we don't have enough information from UX for us to be able to create the user stories and the acceptance criteria for the team to develop it. So we would mark that, with a pen. Then we would say, we don't have design on this part right here. We can't even begin to know what we're supposed to create here. We would mark that. We have a question with this part right here. You know, how is UX wanting us to, how's UX going to make that transition? What is that transition there? We need to have that. We would mark that. Yes, we were picking the UX design apart critically because we had to. We're the ones that were going to take the UX design and create the user stories and the acceptance criteria in order for the team to be able to develop it. If we could not make sense of that ourselves, we would not be able to make sense of it for the team, and it would end up being a stumbling block through the whole entire way. So right from the beginning, everybody has to put the egos aside, because right from the beginning, we had to be able to pick it apart, because it ends up being about the end user. So once we had done our preliminary picking apart, finding out where we needed to collaborate with UX, we then went and took it and I laid it out in front of the development team on the development table. Put a bunch of pins right there and said, okay guys, here is what you're building. I need you to look at this. I need you to rip it to shreds. I need you to pick it apart, tear it apart, because it's much easier when it's on paper than after you have spent hours and weeks and 10,000 lines of code and then going, oh shoot, we didn't think about that. And it was incredible. It was an incredible, beautiful experience. They started gathering around. You could just see their minds going, and they started collaborating with pens in hands. They were saying, you know what, we're going to have an issue right here. This information that's being input by the server into this form, we have to make sure they even have the rights to put any information in this form. Therefore, we're going to have to talk to the security team. Then, once they input the form, it's going to go to this server. We've got to make sure that's encrypted. We've got to make sure. Then we've got to take that information and transfer it to this other server in order for us to process this. And that is going to have to be encrypted. We've got to now talk to this team to make sure if their work is ready. And then the front end team is saying, well, we're wanting to be able to work on this approximately at this time. And so back end, we're going to need to have your work done at this time. And back end saying, and we can't get our work done unless we have this team and this team have their work done. So this one artifact, we're creating timelines, we're creating team dependencies, we're creating issues. There were times when the development team would say, no, this process is not going to work. And then they would be able to articulate it. And now we've got design and development communicating. Development is saying there is a legitimate reason why you can't have your design this way. It's not because we're telling you what to do a design. We're telling you it won't work with our current system. And that could have been coding. It could have been it could have been system limitation. It could have been server limitation. It could have been a variety of things. And it also ended up saying this area right here, this area is going to need to have this specific coding okay, who on the team knows how to do this? You know, and if there was, okay, you know, you're gonna be lead on this, but we've got to, you know, we're gonna have to team program so that we can get caught up, so it's not all on you. Or we need to say, okay, guys, we need to start learning this, because this is going to be coming up in a month or 2 months. So we've got to include in here, we've got to include time in our sprints to be able to learn this right here. So now you're collaborating. And then when they're talking about different teams, it was amazing. It was like, you know, people would say, okay, I'm on point. I'll take that. I'll start communicating with them. I was a product owner at that time, and it was absolutely the most phenomenal experience. It was just so bonding and so team building. And it helped me understand the complexity of the development. And they were so good to be able to explain, you know, the different servers and what they do, and being able to do that. So I was able to have my knowledge and understanding increase. So when I went to management, I could be able to articulate that. So I had this up on a wall outside that was right there by my cubicle. You don't know how many development teams went in, because they knew this was a new project and were interested in it. They would walk by and they would see this and they would start looking at it, and you would see all of these developers on these different development teams going in and looking at it going, yeah, and then sometimes they would go, this may be an issue, Karen. I'm like, yeah, I know, we're on it. We're on it. But thank you. So everybody ended up having a different viewpoint on that one architect or that one document, in order to make it be a phenomenal experience in being able to make sure that the end product was going to be best for the user. But then it went a step further. I gave those to management. Now management could understand the project a lot deeper. Customer support looked at it differently. They're saying, this is very complex. We're going to get a lot of phone calls. What can we do to reduce that load on us? So now we're talking, now that allowed me as a PO to be able to talk to UX and say, okay, can we do some training videos on here? What is it that we can do to make this process be able to be a little bit easier to understand, so we're not creating a heavy workload on customer support? Then training was going, okay, when we go in and first initially train a company on this, we're going to have to spend a little bit more time here. Now they are, you know, this was like 10 months, 11 months before it was launching, but they were able to start preparing what they were going to need to do in order to, when launch time came, they would be ready. Same thing with marketing, same thing with sales. They were able to look at this document and say, okay, this is a huge selling feature. Let's start working on sales on this. Marketing, okay, we're going to support that. We're going to help you with those sales. We're going to start marketing this feature here, because, you know, we're ahead of the game. So we want to be able to market that to make your sales easier. Can you see the type of collaboration that can occur off a information architecture document? And the time that it is going to save. The budget for the company dollars that is going to save. Because we were able to take it on paper level and rip it to shreds, and everybody had put their egos aside and were able to just jump in and collaborate. So information architecture goes a lot deeper than just a simple navigation. It can be extremely complex, but if your team is not using it, I will tell you right now, you're gonna launch with some issues. I can pretty much guarantee it. And if you've got a new team, If you've got a new team, this is instrumental in getting them up to speed because it gives them a visual to understand how all the pieces. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that's you can understand all the pieces that are being put together, and they can take one piece. They may have that only one piece. I'm only working on this one teeny piece, and they can understand that one teeny piece really well. But the question always is how does this one teeny piece fit in the structure? Testing understood that then, because they're testing one jigsaw piece. But what they want to know when they test that one jigsaw piece is how does that relate to the rest of it? How does that relate to the rest of the project so that they aren't missing a testing on the other? So information architecture, it needs to be implemented. It needs to be implemented at the initial stages through discovery and strategy in order to make the project be more successful. All right, that is it. We are going to talk about iconography next. So you know the drill. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, follow, and we'll talk to you on the next section. Thank you.